Tech, Wall Street is bracing for NVIDIA's earnings results out on Wednesday, but is the company still best positioned for the AI boom? Well, joining us now is Ben Baharin from Creative Strategies. Ben, people have either lost or not made a lot of money betting against NVIDIA, but how much tiger is still in the tank here?
Yeah, we think a lot, on a couple of things. One, we're just witnessing sort of the shift from the Hopper era to the Blackwell era. And obviously, with that moves to GPU clusters and clusters of compute, which is one of the things I think is most interesting is a lot of this infrastructure is going to go to these new data center builds. So when you look at the capacity, the 50 plus gigawatts of IT load capacity that's either planned or under review for the next 5 years, that's greenfield growth. So it's not just where are we changing infrastructure in current data centers, it's what are we going to build in racks for future data centers as well. And I think within that dynamic, NVIDIA remains one of the best positioned as we don't see demand slowing down.
Now, how much wealth is there to share going forward off of NVIDIA's upside? Because right now it looks like there's some doubt or at least discomfort in the AI trade, and it'll take some kind of catalyst, at least positive or not negative, out of NVIDIA, it seems, to get that going again.
Yeah, I think what people will see is, this expansion of just GPUs as well as dollars per rack that's coming into this new infrastructure. And I think you'll see more of these frontier labs benefit from that infrastructure in terms of tokens per watt and maximizing their dollars to increase their revenue. And I think as long as the hyperscalers continue to see money from their AI investments, that they'll continue to invest in that new infrastructure. So I think there's still a lot of runway. Again, if you just look at the data center builds, the gigawatts that are coming online over the next 3 to 5 years, that is going to be filled with AI data center, types of technology. So it's really who's going to be the biggest beneficiary of this greenfield growth. And again, for right now, it seems like NVIDIA is the best position.
Now, Ben, let's talk about Apple for a bit, a company you and I both literally grew up with. By my calculations, Tim Cook is now Apple's longest-serving CEO at 14 years, technically longer than Steve Jobs was CEO. Cook was also a key hire of Jobs, getting Apple's logistics business straightened out after years of snafus. If there's a transition, when, really, there's a transition from Tim Cook as CEO, you imagine he'll go to chairman or executive chairman. What does the pipeline of leadership look like there?
Yeah, I would imagine, like you said, still some involvement from Tim Cook in some capacity whenever this succession is going to take place. And I think, they have a really deep bench, right? John Turnus has been mentioned. I think there was, talk about Craig Federighi. All of the folks in there that look like the next successors are loved by Apple. And I think Apple has a really interesting opportunity where there is another hardware run in front of us, not just, doing things like foldables or innovations in smartphones, but things around AI wearables, smart glasses, evolution of Vision Pro to something like an AR glasses. So there's a long hardware cycle, and I think that's where you'll see some of this new leadership start to stand out, is driving another hardware cycle for Apple in the next 5 or more years.
What's your view on Apple's role as a hardware innovator? There's, throughout the Tim Cook era, been criticism of, oh, well, it's not like under Steve Jobs, and they don't have this design or that design. But the amount of profit that they've been able to generate, the skill that they've had at managing inventory has really been unprecedented. And then the rollout of the retail stores, for example. What do you think the next CEO, skill-wise, is going to need to have versus a Tim Cook?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a lot of hardware chops and then, again, a lot of software chops, right? If you just look at what's going to come down at the fundamentals for growing this company, both with hardware and software, and AI is the center, which I think everybody believes, you're going to want to merge all of those capabilities. I think they've done very good, and that they remain well-positioned from a supplier standpoint and supply chain. I don't think that becomes an issue, even in a Tim Cook succession. I think it's really going to be about how do you drive and innovate new hardware categories, which, like I said, I think we're on the cusp of with AI as the center, but really merging those kind of new software chops or deeper software chops around AI to that hardware, I think is going to be the fundamentals for the next stage of growth for Apple.